Hi, very good evening. It's Jim from Avstar. Just thought I'd drop in a quick update on Wildly events. Starting with, I've been noticing that the traffic today over Iraq is thinning out over the last couple of hours, so it might be worth watching that. We can also see two RAF air refuelers, usually there to support tornadoes, and you can see when they make these little squiggly lines that they're obviously servicing fighter jets with fuel. Otherwise there's no point in them flying around just in little circles like that, so that's probably what's going on. But to see two, there's the other one, to see two of them in a close proximity, could be an indicator that something is going on. Usually down here we see the United States strata tankers in the vicinity. And I'll tell you what I did see the other day, two RAF Tornadoes accompanying one of these air refuelers, these British air refueling vehicles. So, could be an indication of something is about to go on with maybe Iran and Israel. This is exactly what we saw when they launched those 300 missiles and drones into Israel. They cleared the civilian air skies of civilian aircraft, and they was diverting them to the lower south and further north. So many of you got nothing better to do tonight, and over the next few hours you want to just see whether that does get a little bit more scarce over the region of Iraq and Iran with civilian aircraft. It could be a definite indication that something might be taking place worth watching. Could be breaking news. You could be the first people to listen to it. Anyhow, on with ordinary topics that we talk about. Let's get on with it. So I thought it'd be worth talking about the Sahara Desert at the moment going more greener. So it's got more vegetation there. That's because the usual monsoon seasons and dry seasons are not falling into the regular pattern as they have done over the past decades. Well, we can see from this article, this was done on the 20th of March 2020, so it's at least 4.5 years old. So the Sahara Desert is still going green today, and it can't be a bad thing, can it? If in the rest of the world we see arable land that we use for growing our crops on going offline because of climate, it must be a good thing if we're seeing desert regenerate itself into lush green environments. And it's got to be a good thing for the wildlife as well, hasn't it? But they see it as this is terrible, this is climate change, and it's going to devastate us all. But it's not always bad news. A friend of mine sent me, the reason why I'm talking about this is because Robert sent us an article on the Sahara Desert and what was causing it to go greener. And it's not just because there's more moisture now falling down on the Sahara Desert than there was previous, and that's because we know that the cosmic rays have seeded the clouds and the jet stream, so there's more water in the atmosphere to start with, so you're going to get more rainfall, and when it does rain you're going to get it in larger quantities than what we had previous on record. But it was let's face it, right? You watched the Kamala Harris interview where she just briefly talked on the renewable energies, and someone asked her whether it was worth doing it, because to become totally self-sufficient, America, just like ourselves, would have to consume one hell of a lot of open countryside and sacrifice that arable growing cropping land for wind generating farms and solar panel farms. She said, but you're missing the point. This is about an industry that's been created on the back of CO2. Can you believe it? I think she's the only politician that I've ever heard come out and say such things. She says it's employing people. Well, first of all, most of these wind generators are coming from China. So the UK don't manufacture that much of it, and neither does the United States. So whose jobs is she actually interested in keeping for people? Is it the United States citizens of America? Is it China? I'll leave it up to you. If these things are built in other countries, because what she said was, do you know how many people it takes to build these generators? You've got to have electricians, plumbers, engineers, you know. And she rattled off all these jobs. But what I found surprising is that she clearly stated the truth about CO2. Because what's happened, guys, as we've become more technological advanced, you know, the jobs that used to exist don't simply exist no more because, you know, mechanisation, robotics and technology has just simply removed these jobs. So, you know, to create an entire industry just to keep people in work, in my view, and I don't know how you feel about it, tell me in the comments, don't you think that's a waste of resources? Resources that could have gone on other things. But then we could say that about a lot of things, couldn't we, guys? We could say, well, you know, all the wars that have been going on and the trillions of pounds that have been spent on munitions in all these conflicts now that seem to be opening up, you know, more and more. I mean, that Middle East, would you agree the Middle East is almost about to burst into flames with what's going on with Israel? But, you know, to create industries on the false pretext that, you know, CO2 is changing climate, when the actual truth of the matter is they're trying to create jobs for people, it's just terrible in my view. And, you know, well, someone was saying, one of these politicians was saying, you know, we have wasted and squandered so many resources on wars in the last 10, 20 years and on this, you know, renewables. And we've destroyed industries as well. I want to just say this. CO2 used to be the most prevalent component in our atmosphere millions of years ago. And also, if you look at the size of the trees that used to grow then, they were huge, much bigger than the trees that we've got growing today. And the ocean life form was thriving. It was an abundance of microscopic and animals. I mean, let's face it, we wouldn't have scrubbed the CO2 without chemoautotrophs. These are little microscopic creatures that live in our oceans, but they are mainly made out of carbon, and it's a storage of carbon. And that's why we have, you know, rock features that we do today. But, you know, it's absolutely insane what is going on. To say that the climate, you know, if it goes 1 or 1.5 or 2 degrees warmer, that, you know, will burn up. There'll be no ice caps. Well, we clearly seen from what Al Gore said, didn't we, in 2014, when he said, oh, there'll be no ice caps, there'll be no polar bears, our kids will never see snow again. How wrong was he? On every one of those facts that he stated was absolutely going to happen, and we've got a crisis on our hands. How accurate was he on any of those? He's one of the people that started all this off. It's nothing short, really, of criminality. And what's even more criminal is the real reasons for the climate shifts that we're seeing today aren't even being discussed. Nobody wants to talk about magnetic pole reversals in any of these organisations in a public way. And nobody wants to say from any of these organisations CO2 is not real. And it's not the real cause of global warming. It's not the real cause of climate change. Because they're going to lose their salaries and their pensions. So they will bury their heads in the sand in order to keep the lie going. And this can being kicked down the road. We are going to be, in the future at some point, looked back on as the most ridiculous nations of people ever because of all this nonsense. Do you realise that? We are going down in history as clowns for squandering the resources like we have. And it's only a few people that have done this. It's only those elitists that want to steal the purse off the taxpayer. That's all it is. And for the sake of just a few people, they've ruined lives for millions of people. It's really sad. It really is, guys. But, you know, nothing changes, does it? There has always been bad news, and tomorrow there will always be bad news. But here's another thing I noticed. Have you noticed any of the decent reports on anything that's going on over the weekend? You don't hear about until Monday. And what does that tell you? If politicians are not breaking stories just because it's a Saturday or a Sunday and they're waiting till Monday, it means that what they've got is just an ordinary job, isn't it? And that's exactly how they treat it. Because just because it's a Saturday or a Sunday, you shouldn't be restricted of important breaking news. If you are in the business of media, in any case, in my view, you work Saturday and Sunday because news is breaking all the time. But we don't get no reports. Not even Russia release reports on a Saturday and Sunday. They wait till Monday. Why is that? That's how false and fake our mainstream media is. Anyhow, you know, like I said, it has always been bad news in one respect or another, and tomorrow it will never change, because, you know, human beings can be corrupt little individuals, and, you know, when it comes down to money or putting their conscience in the closet, well, they take the money. Unfortunately, I see more of these politicians taking the money than they do the right thing. And a good example of that is Sir Keir Starmer. Going back on it, nearly everything in his manifesto, he's taken the fuel heating allowance off the pensioners. He's allowed energy companies to increase their costs. We're still living in austerity measures, and, you know, the cost of living crisis is still very real for us, as it is for you guys in other countries. You know, this isn't just contained to the UK. This is a global problem now. But the resources and the money is not getting spent wisely enough at the moment. And a lot of it is ending up in their back pockets. And when we talk about Sir Keir Starmer not just going back on his manifestos and promises, well, he's only just taken in gifts over £100,000 worth of goods. You're telling me that is not a conflict of interest? Why aren't the media still punishing him for this? Why aren't his cabinet members demanding he leaves? Because what he's done is exploit a loophole, just like Rishi Sunak did when he avoided paying tax. This is what we have to deal with in this day and age, guys. It's absolutely... it's a crime, isn't it? Anyhow, tune back in a few days. We'll be doing the latest magnetic pole reversal just after, we break into October. Come back, and, if you want to help support what we do, there's a link down there in the description. You know, we would love to have you join us over on Patreon. Or if you just want to chip in a few bucks here and there on the PayPal, the link's down there. It's entirely up to you. It's not mandatory. But, we couldn't do what we have got to now doing if it weren't for a little bit of help here and there. And it doesn't hurt, does it? Have a good evening, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Take care of your loved ones, as always. Bye for now.